Today my guest is Joe Foster, the co-founder of Reebok, one of the top companies in the world in the sportswear industry.
It was never about Joe Foster, it was all about Reebok.
What was the vision?
Well, the vision was we needed to make a living.
Where did you get all this from? The energy, motivation, belief?
I spent 11 years going to America.
Yeah.
As a small company from the UK.
How do you find that white space?
I didn't know anything about aerobics.
When they told you you're number one, what was the feeling?
It's better to be an optimist if you're going to be an entrepreneur.
It's an inspiration for me. I love people like you. Hi guys, welcome to my new episode, Brands Through Stories. When I started this podcast, I could never even imagine to have an incredible guest on my podcast of that caliber. He's a true business leader and a person with a big heart. Today my guest is Joe Foster, the co-founder of Reebok, one of the top companies in the world in the sportswear industry. Joe, thank you so much for finding time to come to my podcast. I'm really honored and, to be honest, a little bit excited and nervous at the same time.
Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure. We're here, and it's nice to meet you.
Thank you so much. I want to ask you this question. Maybe it's a little bit crazy one, but I always was wondering, how does it feel to be Joe Foster? To see that, here you go, this is Reebok, the company is there, it has its own life, it's one of, still in top 10 companies and growing. How does it feel?
Well, it's quite difficult, really, to appreciate fully what has happened in my life. I've been through many exciting moments, many difficult moments. But the bottom line on that is that it's, as I say, it's very hard to believe that this is what's happening. And is it me? Is it, Joe Foster? Yeah, it's you need a lot of people in life, and you meet a lot of people. And they're usually good people. Those are the ones that you need to meet. And so I often think, there are so many brilliant people that I've met, but I just happen to be the founder. And how that happened, I don't know. You start off in this life and you're doing something you want to do. And you just keep pushing. You just keep going. And I can only think I'm a very lucky person. That I've been here and things have gone in the right way. Not everything goes the right way, but we became number one. So and it's hard. You look down and you see people wearing your product, Reebok, and I can go back to the day I remember just finding that word in the dictionary. It was so. Yeah, who is Joe Foster? Well, it was never about Joe Foster. It was all about Reebok.
Wow. Yeah.
I didn't want to be the person. Well, I think it's like anything else. If you dilute the product, then you're taking something away. So it was always, this is Reebok. This is Reebok, not Joe Foster. This is Reebok. And so it's only now that we're beginning to sell Joe Foster because I wrote the book, of course. So and the realization of who you are, it's I don't know. I still sort of think, no, is this really happening? Is it
really? Is that how you feel?
Well, it's like.
I could only imagine seeing people wearing your products, seeing your, the company's name that you created everywhere. Probably, yeah. I thought that you thought, oh, yes, I've done it, I made it, it's my name there. That's what a lot of, new entrepreneurs think.
Well, I don't know whether I made it or not. I mean, a lot of people made it. It just so happens that my name now happens to be still the founder.
Yeah.
And a lot of people move on, CEOs move on, CFOs move on. A lot of people move on. But, you can't change a founder.
Yeah. This is
And
beautiful.
so I'm still here.
Yeah.
So great.
Yeah. And that's for the question now. When you and your brother started the company, what was the vision? And how did it evolve during the time?
Well, the vision was we needed to make a living.
Right, that was the vision. Very clear.
We needed something to do. The parent company was really failing. J.W. Foster and Sons, which my grandfather set up in 1895, all that time back. But by the time Jeff and I, I was 20, and Jeff was 21 when we came out of doing national service, and we came back to the company, and we could see it was failing. We couldn't get it. We couldn't get my father and my uncle to change. So the only change we had to do was to leave the company. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had we wouldn't have had an income. We would have had no money. So we needed a job, and
so that was the vision. And then
yes.
And then over the time, when you started growing and going into America, the markets, and reaching to those revenues, millions, did your vision change?
Well, I spent 11 years going to America.
Yeah.
As a small company from the UK. Excuse me. I went to America, first of all, in 1968. And I didn't really crack the market until 1979. That was 11 years. So it was just 11 years of jumping on a plane, going across, going to the exhibitions, and I think enjoying life. I think it was fun to go to another country to see what it was like in America. So, yeah. But when we did get there, and for maybe a couple of years, again, it was hard work, keep pushing. It was only when we actually found that white space. That was aerobics.
Yeah.
It was new. It was something different. Yeah. We were only a small company.
Yeah.
So as against Adidas and Nike, who were the big boys at that time, they obviously didn't see it. We needed white space. We found it, and aerobics took us from a very small $9 million company up to, as we know, $4 or $5 billion company. But really, it was to get to $1 billion within 4 years, and that was an incredible ride. But it was going so fast. Everything was going so fast that you don't have time to stop and say, well, what's happening?
Right.
You don't have that time.
Yeah.
You're just so so interested in it. It's happening, so let's take advantage. And everybody is running so fast, so hard, working so hard, that you don't really realize until someone said, we're number one.
And when they told you you're number one, what was the feeling?
Oh, I mean, that excuse me, that was really the feeling that, we've won. We've made it. We've achieved something we never even dreamt of. We dream of earning a living, of making good product, and how do we do that? Well, we start, first of all, by changing what the Foster family were doing, and we did something different. So we probably didn't have in our minds that we were going to be a number one or that we were going to be a big company, but it's taking each step at a time. And so you step, we could do a bit more, we can do a bit more, we can do a bit more. And, and I think that we were young. We were lucky. And we left the company, the Foster company, and it was like, we'll set our own company up. What can go wrong?
We tried.
What can go wrong? We're young, it's, nothing can go wrong. And so I don't think we had anything more than, we can do better than the Foster family so far. What they've done, we can do that as good, or we can do better. So really, the reason for what we were doing is, yes, we needed to make a living.
I'd like to go back a little bit with those 11 years of trying in America, right? 11 years to go into the market. You have to have very strong desire and the strong energy, full of energy, motivation to do that. Where did you get all this from? Energy, motivation, belief?
I was younger in those days.
Is that what?
I mean, in your 20s and 30s, you can do anything. It's, nothing's impossible, is it? It's, and I think that I don't think you recognise the fact that you've got energy, you've got anything more different than the fact you're an optimist.
Yeah.
And if you're optimistic, you can become an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I don't think we even knew the word in those days. Going back to the 60s, entrepreneur. Did people have it? I don't know if people said entrepreneur in those
What was
days.
the word, actually? Salesperson. What was the word people used that time?
I don't know. Probably crazy.
Crazy.
All right. Why would you want to do that? That's stupid. Even my wife used to think I was crazy. Yeah. Used to say, why don't you go and get a decent job? Because you struggle.
Safety.
In those early days, you struggle. Nothing's that easy, but we enjoyed it. The struggle is something that I think it's the challenges. I think the challenges are what we enjoyed, because we set up our company in 1958 as Mercury Sports Footwear.
Yeah.
But within 18 months, Adidas wrote us. Well, not Adidas, no, that's a different story. But what happened is our accountant said, "You're doing very well. What you need to do is to register that name Mercury. Otherwise, if somebody else starts having the idea, you're going to have a problem." And we found out we couldn't. I went to an agent and we found out we couldn't register it. And so we had to look for a new name. So that was our first challenge. As in the book, if you've read it, we came up with Reebok. And we thought, well, that's our first challenge. That's a big challenge. But we thought, well, okay, Mercury was a nice name. We liked it. But Reebok, that's a better name now. That's really, it's better. And then, we were 4 years into our business. We did get a letter from Adidas. And at that time, our silhouette was 2 stripes and a T-bar.
Right.
And they thought with their 3 stripes, they said that 2 stripes and a T-bar, that's infringing the 3-stripe registered trademark. So I think for about 5 minutes we were sort of thinking, oh dear.
5 minutes.
What do we do?
Yeah.
Then we thought, well, Adidas know we're here. Adidas found it necessary to send a letter because we're here. That's great.
This is a true optimism.
Pin that on the wall. What do we do? Well, we'll just change our silhouette, and we end up with what we have now, which is the Vector. And again, we think that is better and that is different. So these challenges make you think. Challenges are there, and I think it's almost as though you're doing something wrong that you get a challenge. And we better do it better then. We better do it right. And so we change the name, we change our silhouette, and we end up with Reebok.
It's incredible, actually, the attitude, the mindset. Was your brother also optimist?
Probably not as much as I was.
Uh-huh.
But we came to an arrangement. And Jeff said, look, I'll look after the factory. He loved the factory. He really loved being in the factory. That's what he wanted to do, make shoes. I didn't. I didn't want to make shoes, really. It wasn't for me. So he said, I'll look after the factory. You do everything else.
Right.
So I got the job to do everything else. And
easy.
I must have done a lot of stupid things, a lot of things wrong. But in the end, Jeff we never fell out. We never had an argument at all.
But why do you think was it? Because it's a big thing, part of the partnership, I had a very strange partnership, amazing, successful and difficult, and that whole idea of partnership. And I work a lot with the family businesses, and I know what a lot of responsibilities, a lot of things, a lot of internal politics. What was the success in your partnership with your brother?
Well, I think probably the fact that my father and uncle, they just fought. They didn't get on. They were brothers, but they did not get on. In fact, they didn't even speak to each other.
While working together?
While working together, they wouldn't speak to each other. In fact, Jeff and myself, we had to pull them apart. They were fighting on more than one occasion, and they were fighting. So I think the fact that they just didn't work together. A bit like Adi Dassler and Rudy Dassler. They didn't get on. That's why Rudy left and set up Puma. However, with the Foster family, they didn't leave and set up, they just kept feuding. So my father and uncle just said they didn't speak with each other. And there was nothing wrong with my uncle. We would talk to him and he was okay, but my father, they just didn't get on. So I think when we talk about, well, with Jeff and yourself, I think he probably had learned that lesson that,
Right. So you saw.
If we feud, we won't go anywhere.
Right.
And I probably also learned a lesson, but I think Jeff was probably more able to absorb the problem that would bring if we were fighting. So I think I got away with a lot.
No, this is an incredible story. Never fight around business, and it's a family thing. So it's something to really learn from. So that optimism mindset, it's a big word now. We all want to be optimists and we want to look at the world positively. But really, when the time is tough as an entrepreneur, how do you get that optimism? Where is it from? Were you born with it?
Yes.
You were born with it?
Yeah.
I was hoping you said, no, I developed it, because they promise now that you can do it.
No.
You were born with it.
I don't think you can develop optimism. I think you either have it or you don't have it.
You don't,
And it's better to be an optimist if you're going to be an entrepreneur.
Yes.
So it does go together. No, I think you're born with it. And again, I mentioned my first wife. She was not an optimist. She was more the cautious, pessimistic. I maybe I was too optimistic. Maybe I should have been more cautious on occasion. But I think that's a challenge in life. You either decide and we'll give it a try, because you can't lay out the result of anything you do. You don't know exactly what's going to happen. If you did, it would be easy. Yeah. Everybody would be able to do that. Yeah, we could. Okay. I mean, I don't know if you've made business plans. I used to love making business plans. And then 1 month later, I would look at my business plan and think, why did I think that?
Really?
Yeah. And three months later, it was nothing like that. So you change and you change and you change. You go in the direction you need to go into. You don't try and force yourself down a route that isn't going to work. But so business plans are great. And,
you need a little bit of a business plan, no? At least you know where you're going in your plan.
I love doing business plans. I enjoyed it. It's great, and you make all these predictions, and
and that never happens.
Well, what is the help is that you ask yourself, why did I think that 3 months ago? Why did I think that? And so that way you can sort of maneuver your thinking and think, okay, let's not be too fixed with whatever we put down as a plan. It's a guide. And it's a guide at the time because you think that is what is going to happen. But things come along and change that. Whatever it is, a letter from Adidas, maybe, unable to register a name. These things come along and they change that. And I think it's acknowledging that challenges are there. Challenges are there to help, not to hinder you. You can fail. Okay, failures, again, it's another lesson. And that's all it is. It's a lesson. It is not time to give up. It's time to change.
Did you have moments? In your life in terms of business when you felt, well, I think that's it. There is no way out. No. That's.
I think there are times that come along when you wonder, are we going in the right direction? Is this where we're going, or how can we manipulate it? What can we find? And I mentioned white space, and I think it's looking for white space. If you've got a big competitor like Adidas came into the UK, into England. They were there before Jeff and I left the parents' company. So by the time we left, football was a place we couldn't go. Adidas owned that space. But in the north of England, where we came from, we had cross-country running, we had fell running, things that we could go into that space. We had rugby league was a north of England sport. So we went into those spaces. And and I think that these are challenges that it's enjoyable. How do we manage to get over this? Yeah.
How do you find, I mean, it's going to be a very crazy question. I'm sure you've been asked 100 times. How do you find that white space?
How do you find the white space?
How do you find that white space?
Well, I think that is optimism again.
Optimism.
I think it's a question of saying, okay, why go head to head with somebody? Why not go round? It's like sometimes going over the mountain can be too hard. Let's go round the mountain. Let's find a way around. I think it's again, it's that challenge. It's a challenge that, if we're going to do something and we're going to get from A to B, we need to know what the route is going to be, but it's not that straightforward. There's always something in your path. And I think, again, the entrepreneur has to be able to welcome challenge. And I think challenge has always been something that I have enjoyed. And
that's your motivation.
It is the motivation, is to look for the challenge. In fact, go into the challenge and say, "Why? How do we do this?" So, yes. I think
as a brand expert, I can see, and your book is beautiful. I really advise everyone to read it. It has a lot of emotions in it. And when you say you're an optimist, and reading your story or listening from other podcasts, your stories, a lot of difficult moments you went through, very emotional moments. And to stay optimist, it is in your blood.
Yes.
It is definitely.
It's in my DNA, certainly.
It is there. You can't take it out with the external force. What I've noticed is that what I tell as a brand expert, go to your customers, ask them what they want. And that's what I felt from your book and from your story also. Yes. You were there with them.
Yeah. Oh, yes, yes.
And the story, if you can maybe expand, women, how you've noticed those women, then you brought beautiful shoes to them. Why did you decide to approach women with aerobics and believe that aerobics will be the new thing?
We come back to team again. We come back, because I didn't know anything about aerobics. Aerobics was something that developed in Los Angeles, and we had a technical rep, Arnold Martinez. He was a tech rep in LA. And his wife, Frankie. Was going to these classes, these aerobic classes.
Right.
And coming back and really full of it. And Arnold saying, what are you doing? It's great, this. What are you doing? And she said, we're doing aerobics. And he said, okay, what's aerobics? Well, we're exercising to music, and we love it. Oh, great. So Arnold said, well, can I come down to your class next time and see what's going on? Yeah, come down. So he went down there, and he saw the instructor in a pair of sneakers. We think they were New Balance. Half the class were in the same sneaker. The other half are not wearing any shoes at all. He had a light bulb moment. That was it. Why don't we make a shoe specifically for aerobics for women on a new last, a woman's last, in women's sizes, just specific, and let's make it in glove leather.
Right, to make it more elegant, smooth.
Or make it so comfortable.
Comfortable.
Glove leather. I didn't know a thing about that. I never even heard that this was going on. However, Arnold, he's in America, in Los Angeles, and really Reebok is being sort of run out of Boston, which is almost the other side of the country. So Arnold took the flight, went to Boston, went to see Paul Fireman, who was CEO of the operation in America, and he told Paul, look, all about aerobics. And Paul is saying, slow down, slow down. We're a running company, and we're doing nicely. Why do we want to make dancing shoes for girls?
Now everyone is wishing to do that.
Well, Arnold wasn't happy with the whole thing. So Arnold, okay, Paul, okay, he went round to the back door and had a word with Steve Liggett. Steve Liggett was our product man in America. And he made a better job with Steve. Because Steve got him 200 pairs of samples, exactly what he wanted, made in glove leather. And he got them down to Los Angeles, got them out to the instructors and some of the girls that were sort of leading lights, and gave the shoes out. They loved them. Fantastic. All of a sudden, yes, we're in the aerobics game. However, I didn't know a thing about it. And they were making these shoes out of glove leather. Well, I don't know if you know anything about glove leather or anything about leather. But glove leather you can pick up like a piece of paper and you can just tear it. It's about 0.7 of a millimeter thick. And when you use it for a shoe, you've got to take off that top surface in order to get the adhesive to stick the sole on. So you've got about 0.5 millimeter of material. That's very, very thin. And of course, you put a foot in that and you jump up and down in it. Right, it's beautiful and comfortable, but they were tearing apart. They were coming apart. I think had we been anywhere else but Los Angeles, Reebok would never be known in this world because we would have been out of business fairly quickly. But the girls in Los Angeles, they didn't care. They just went out and bought another pair because they only lasted for about a month. We got over the problem because we had to get a different leather. We were more like garment leather, so it was much thicker and better. But I mean, the first thing they did though was to line the glove leather with nylon. At this point now, I'm beginning to hear about the problems and what we're doing, and I'm saying, why are you lining it with nylon? Because leather breathes. And it breathes, and that's what keeps your foot nice and cool. And if you line it with nylon, stops it breathing. Okay, so what did they do? They punched holes in the front. So
Product innovation.
Yeah, I'm a shoemaker. Arnold is a marketeer. And okay, I know quite a bit about marketing, but that is a lesson from being a shoemaker. Don't make it out of glove leather. The marketing man finds a way and puts the holes in so that the shoes now breathe. And now it's a design feature of the shoe, still is a design feature of freestyle.
Incredible.
And so, you know, I learn a lesson.
Yeah.
But then we also sort of, you know, we have to bring things together and make it out of better leather. And once it started growing and Jane Fonda bought a pair, she actually bought a pair to wear in her videos. That was it. All of a sudden, we couldn't keep pace.
Influence marketing.
Marketing.
It's incredible.
We didn't know at the time. She went out and bought a pair. But this is where influencing came from. Again, we didn't even know the word in those days. Influencers? What are influencers? Yeah, what is that?
But the power of it was even there.
Oh, absolutely, yes. And it just took off. I mean, it was incredible. We were 9 million at that time, and a year later we were 30 million, then 90 million, 300 million, 900 million in successive years. So that's how it grew. But, you know, you think, well, what are the problems? Yeah, there were problems. Number one problem, how do you finance that? We were lucky. Paul knew a guy, an Englishman of all things, Stephen Rubin. Stephen Rubin, he was he was a sourcing company, and he sourced out of the Far East, so he was happy to get his percentage on sourcing the brand, and he gave us a credit line, which was, yeah. I mean, he had some problems because we were using a lot of credit. But the worst problem, or the biggest problem we had was going from 300 million to 900 million pairs. And that was how do you get the product? It wasn't the money anymore, it's how do you get the product?
And that's why I actually wanted to, because you grew so quick in 4 years, right? The growth was incredible. How is it, so you probably before that, you feel like everything is in control, and then with that quick growth, did you feel like it was out of control? Was it?
It was definitely out of control. Yes.
Without growth.
Because we had orders for the product coming in. I mean, I was working on the global distribution. I was expanding our global, and of course, I've got people now in different countries around the world saying, okay, can we have 10,000 pairs? Yeah, 10,000 pairs. The difficulty getting those because America was growing fast, and the rest of the world was also growing because everybody wanted it. The one thing that drove me to America was the fact that if we made it in America, the rest of the world would be easy. And I think it still applies today.
It's the dream. Well, all the new entrepreneurs, all I meet there, they have two dreams. They want to either go to America or to China. Right. And then they want to be unicorns.
Yeah.
The dream.
Right.
It's when I was reading your book, it was I could see it never changes. We all want to go to America.
Well, it's where the market is biggest. Yeah. You go where the market is, and the disposable income. We did a study way back, and if we put America at 100, the nearest to America, I think at that time, was Germany, and they were about 25 to 30, and the UK was about 17, and Japan was about 30 as well. So, but America was so disposable income, attitude. You know, the whole thing in America was so different, and so that was a market that we went for, and it worked.
It worked,
and I still think it works today.
11 years of trying to get to that market isn't. I don't think any. It's a lot of this buzz now about being entrepreneur, solopreneur, and you want to conquer. I want to sell to big guys. That's the thing. I want to open. I have a great product in most of the cases. I mean, no offense to anyone, but they don't even know who their customer is, but they know they want to sell to Americans, unicorn, and bye-bye to that. And I know you were from the family business. You then became part of a big corporation. Yeah?
Yes.
What was it? I know it's a big question. What was it like? But was it painful?
Well, things grow.
Yeah.
And you don't plan it, really. It happened. It happened with us. Maybe people do plan these things, but as far as Reebok was concerned, going from 9 to 900 million, it was chasing the game because we just had to work harder. And you didn't realize this. You were just working hard. You were just, how do we get this? How do we do this? How do we satisfy the orders? In fact, we probably became a company that forgot how to sell. Because the orders, it was just coming so much. And the influencing, we did learn a lot more about influencing, Sigourney Weaver and these sort of things with Alien. And so I think everybody is waiting for the time, when does this crazy game stop? When do we stop sort of having orders coming in? When does this calm down? And it was also a question, what are we? Are we a performance company? Look, questions being asked, are we a performance company? Because, we're just doing shoes for women. And the scary part was that was about 70%, 80% of our business was aerobics.
That's the amazing part.
Yeah.
Women empowerment, that's the game.
But dangerous because if it comes down or it levels, you're thinking, well, what happens to your company? Do you go down? So we sort of had to get into tennis first of all, then basketball, then American football and baseball. So eventually we got into all the different sports, and aerobics allowed us to do that, to move into the different areas. And what we brought to those sports was soft leather,
right?
Because glove leather didn't work, but soft leather did. The comfortable feel, that was it. So we moved more to garment leather, and we were growing that fast that we could get tanneries to sort of get the leather that we wanted. But then when we moved into other sports, this was so great, particularly in tennis. All of a sudden, you didn't have to put a shoe on that. You've got to wear it and sort of break it in. No, we had this nice soft leather. Put it on and immediately. Yeah. In fact, Paul Fireman took an advert out. I think it was in a tennis magazine, and the advert was, if you don't think that Reebok tennis shoes are the best tennis shoes you've ever worn, we'll give you your money back and a can of tennis balls. And the strap line was, Reebok puts its balls on the line.
I love it. I don't know how this, with all this proper thing now, how that would be taken now, but I think it's beautiful.
And I remember talking to Paul and said, Paul, are you okay with this? He said, I'm a bit worried, but we bought 2 cases of tennis balls. In case
yeah.
And they only actually got through half a case of these tennis balls because it worked and worked so well.
And so seeing your grandfather putting all these foundations, right? And you being called after your grandfather, and I know this beautiful story that you were born the day your grandfather was...
on his birthday.
Yeah,
I was born on his birthday, the
yeah.
18th of May, yes. And he had died 18 months, I think 15 to 18 months before I was born. And that's why I was born on his birthday, and so my grandmother insisted that I have his name.
Did you feel a lot of responsibility?
When? when you're a kid, you don't even know that. You don't know anything like that. So when you grow up, not so much responsibility, but it has become an advantage. It's you think, yeah, well, okay, so that is a bit of a coincidence to be born on your grandfather's birthday 15 months after he has died. There's a bit of sort of...
you straight away have that kind of mystical thoughts.
That's right. You wonder why. And yeah, in that sense, it's sort of interesting, very interesting. It becomes part of your story.
Part of your story, beautiful story. And that's why I can see how much passion you have. It's in this whole journey of building your company. And it's in your family also, right? It's that spirit. And now you become part of the big corporation, and you have the board, and you have other people deciding on your behalf. How to keep optimistic during that time? I was for 2 years part of a big corporation. For me, I can't do it. I cannot be Excel, filling in Excels and business planning only. What's the success? How to deal with that in order not to lose your optimism? And
well, I mean, eventually you've got that many lawyers, you've got that many accountants, you've got that many people in between doing all the jobs that it just becomes a routine. And that's why in the end of 1989 I stepped back from the company because the challenges had gone. There were no real challenges. Okay, I was enjoying life to an extent. I was traveling around the world about 3 times every year. I'd be going around the world calling on everybody, putting on new distribution. And I was also hosting a pro celebrity tennis match in Monte Carlo. So,
wow.
we got all the Hollywood celebrities coming to it. So it was great. It was in one sense, it was a wonderful thing, but you realize that, okay, number one, it's not a challenge. Number two, it can't last. It won't last forever. You're better making your decision to move on rather than stay with it. So, yeah, at the end of 89, I stepped back. And knowing full well that as a founder, nobody can replace you. You're always a founder. But, from the day-to-day stuff, it was easy for me just to step back at that time and enjoy life. But the phone kept ringing. Joe, what do we do with this? Or what happened at this time? Because as we grew, so they got the problems.
Right.
The IRS were asking questions. What was your agreement? So I've continued to be part of Reebok all that time. And we've done many things since. But it was better to step back. But, okay, now. And we didn't have computers. We didn't have smartphones. They only happened after I'd stepped back. And when I stepped back, I'm now got a computer, and we've got Wikipedia, we've got Google, and I'm reading about how I started Reebok. There's even a photograph on Wikipedia of Joe Foster, founder of Reebok. And
that can never be erased.
And it wasn't me.
It wasn't you?
It wasn't me.
All right.
So that's where the book came in, because I'm thinking, oh, this is so wrong. There were so many stories about how Reebok started, and they were all wrong. People were just guessing. So I wrote the book. And now I'm selling Joe Foster because I need to sell the book.
I think
that's my challenge.
I think this book, when I look at it, is actually not just Joe Foster book. It's a lot of people there that you appreciate and you put them in your story. And I can see it's not just the story of Reebok, it's the story of people there. I could see how much love, maybe is not the right word, but love you have towards them. And I think from my side, I'm a big supporter of great companies culture.
Right.
And that is you are as good as your people. And I think that book has a lot of that. I've known a lot of that. Being able to remember the names of all the people, starting with you and putting them in that book is beautiful. And that whole culture, the whole culture is beautiful. And I think really for all the new entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and dreamers of South America, I think it's a must-read book that gives you a journey, a beautiful journey of what it is truly to build a big brand.
Yeah, well, I wrote the book, obviously, to put the story straight. But what we have found is what you're saying. A lot of people are saying, but there's so many lessons in there. There's so many things you can learn. There's so many ideas. I mean, we've done these sort of moderators with universities, UCL in London, and a lot of people, they're sort of saying, yeah, but, how did you do that? Because the book in itself answers a lot of questions, but it also poses a lot of questions. Mm-hmm. How did you do that? And how did you do that? And I think that's the beauty of it. We didn't set our company up to make a fortune or to be the biggest number one. I didn't write the book for it to be a business book, but
it's full of business.
This is the consequences. The consequences is it is looked at now as a business book.
It has all this. So we all want to be famous through our brands. We want to have very strong brands that people love and believe in. And it answers two fundamental questions. First one, that know your customer, and your white space is with your customers.
Oh, yes.
And then have the team to deliver on that, to build and to deliver on all the promises and the vision that you as a company build a strong team. I think it's the foundations, what I tell to people. It's a foundation of the strong companies, on the companies that are actually legacy, that leave a beautiful legacy. So I think it's a beautiful book to read as an entrepreneur.
Thank you.
I want to ask you 3 questions.
Okay.
Well, I ask all my great guests these 3 questions. The first one is, so it's for all these new entrepreneurs and maybe those who want to grow. So the first thing is, what do they need to do regularly to be successful? The second question, what not to be afraid of? And the third one is, what they should stay away from. So the first one, what to do regularly to be successful?
Can I answer the third one first?
Okay, yeah.
Stay away from egos.
Egos,
yeah.
Right.
Egos, you don't need them.
Mm-hmm.
You need good people who believe in the brand. And so you all work for one name, for one brand, not for yourself. You want clever people, you want optimists, but if their ego comes in, and I had a few egos to deal with, I invited them to leave the company.
Right.
Because if you go set your own company up, if you want to be that, otherwise you work for Reebok. What was one and two?
So now either do regular or don't be afraid of.
Don't be afraid of taking chances and risks. Don't be afraid of that.
Just go for it. Yeah.
Just go for it. And if you get it wrong, you can change it. And don't be afraid to change.
Yeah.
Because it's so important to not to try to stay with something that is not working. If it's not working, change it. So don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid of failing.
I think this is the biggest scare that we have.
I spent 11 years going to America. I had 6 attempts, and they all failed. They all failed, but it was like, okay, so that's not working. But we got there because we've been pushing so hard. We needed something to pull, and that was getting a 5-star shoe.
Yeah,
In fact, we've got 3 5-star shoes. So it's finding that white space. To us, that was white space. Going in there knowing that we could actually make a shoe, a 5-star shoe.
5-star shoe.
So Runner's World was great. It was great for Nike. It was great for Reebok, and great for any real running shoe company, because they just, what they did for running in America was incredible. And we were there at the right time. So, look for your luck.
Look for your luck.
And take it with both hands. We talk about what do they need to do now.
Regularly.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's to have fun.
Oh, I love it. To have fun.
Yeah. I think, I do get asked the question, what are the 3 most important things? And I say, well, number 1 is fun. Number 2 is have more fun. And number 3, it's got to be fun. Otherwise, you won't be there. So, yeah. So if you're not having fun, so regularly you must have fun. You must enjoy it. Yeah, if you're turning around and you're feeling depressed or whatever, and it doesn't mean to say every day is fun, because some of the days are terrible.
Yeah.
How do you
have fun then?
Yeah,
That's terrible.
I lost my brother just as we got the 5-star, just as we got into America. That wasn't a fun day. It wasn't a fun time, but it probably made me more. It hardened me to sort of make sure we succeeded. We needed to succeed. That was like,
it's
you lose that sort of that thing that makes a company solid. Jeff was always there. He was there. He did. He would have been the one that went out to Korea. He would have been the one that sort of took the brand and got the production, but he didn't. So, that was a difficult time. But I say, for me, it was, you've got to make it work.
I've lost my business partner. He wasn't even my brother. And it's so difficult. And he just left the business. It was already, with you need to be really an optimist. It's beautiful.
But, and those are the sort of, could people also say, look, if you could change anything, what would you change? And I said, my answer to that is, well, I did a lot of things wrong, I'm sure, but we became number 1. We became the number 1 company. So what is there to change?
Yeah.
And the things that I'd like to change, I can't. Like my brother dying. You'd love to change that, but you can't. So, becoming number 1, what do you change? So, there are a lot of things maybe that, had I changed certain things, maybe we want to become number 1. Have fun.
Have fun. I had a lot of fun today. Thank you very much. Honestly, I had a lot of fun, and it's an inspiration for me. I love people like you. I hope this world will be with more people like you, very optimistic.
Well, thank you for inviting me to your podcast.
Sorry.
It's good, and we enjoy doing these things, because it's one thing that probably the book has taught me, that is, there's a story, and there are stories within the story.
Oh, sorry. I just want, it's...
Well, sometimes a nerve sort of touches, and
it's this whole story with my partner, and I was so upset and depressed, and I listened to your stories. It's like, what is to be depressed and upset there? It's nothing. It's compared to...
Well, you don't... I don't think you ever get over these things. I think they're always there at the back of your mind, that you have a brother, and the things that happen that are bad you can't change.
Yeah.
You just wish you could change those things.
Yeah.
But you can't change them. But you must look at the optimistic side of it and say, okay, we're going to do our best. We're going to make this happen.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you,
It was a
Steven.
pleasure.
Thank
a
you,
pleasure.
guys. Oh, I enjoyed it. Thank you. Oh.
I didn't intend to.
He has that effect on women. I spend my life out.
Thank you so much.
You should get a photo of the two of you.
Thank you.
You should get a photo.
Oh, that's what you make to women. You charm them and make them cry, and then you give them beautiful shoes.